Hello. This is the second week of Guadalupe Media and Culture. Um, Welcome back. If you saw the first videos from the first week and just wanted to follow up with the question posed last week of the difference between a nation and a state, other than just other cultural and media presentations here on this channel. It's the afternoon here in Guatemala City, just south of the city this time, and west of the airport. And just want to thank you off the bat for your presence and watching this. And saw Bishop Barron is doing a work with evangelization and culture, so it's maybe I can get some inspiration from him to hopefully help out. And it's always great to get closer to Jesus Christ, so this channel can help, all the better. And today, just the subject of nation and a state, as Jacques Maritain talks about, and just kind of my time here, or observations I've had here in Guatemala, that I think that maybe we can learn and maybe learn from, especially with here, kind of this topic of violence that was been brought up, and how just the definitions of these terms can even help define maybe some principles behind our actions in our daily lives. And so in his book, The Man and the State, Jacques Maritain, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, I should check that, but he describes a nation as a human community deeply rooted in nature, and nature as coming from the Latin root of as birth, but not biological like race, but ethico-social, a human community based on the fact of birth and lineage, yet with all the moral connotations of those terms. So a lot there, certainly more than biological birth, history and all that's included, and goes on to say birth to the life of reason and the activities of civilization, lineage in familial traditions, social and juridical, formation, cultural heritage, common conceptions and manners, historical recollections, sufferings, claims, hopes, prejudices, and resentments. Yeah, that's a lot, and especially for just think about the country here, even the different capitals, Antigua, here. I don't remember the name of the third, or at least what I can remember is the third of the first one. But just the, I think it's about 500 years. And, starting with the Federation, or the larger country that broke up into this federation of countries. And but going back to part of that definition, maybe it'd be good to describe what is define what is an ethnic community, or how Maritain states it in his book. He says that, generally speaking, it can be defined as a community of patterns of feelings rooted in the physical soil of the origin of the group, as well as in the moral soil of history. It becomes a nation when this factual situation enters the sphere of self-awareness. That's big. Becomes a nation when this factual situation enters the sphere of self-awareness. Goes on to say, in other words, when the ethnic group becomes conscious of the fact that it constitutes a community of patterns of feeling, or rather has a common unconscious psyche, and possesses its own unity and individuality, its own will to endure in existence. So I repeated that. I think it's good to hit on that again, but even after that definition, kind of this consciousness that's pretty central, and the kind of the formation of this ethnic community, goes on to say that this becoming exasperated and gave rise to the plague of nationalism, while, and probably because, the concept of nation and the concept of state were confused and mixed up in an unfortunate and explosive manner. Nation, and it goes on to say later that nation has a historic calling. And just thinking, I don't know too much about the history of the formation of the Federation or Centro America, but with Guatemala kind of coming first in the order, or at least in the journey of those who helped found the country or start form it as a nation or a state, as maybe we'll go on to find out more or discover more of how with these definitions, but that that the importance of Guatemala and the responsibility maybe that this nation has in helping to better define that for itself, starting here, but then maybe even on to the other countries, which in the Constitution, capítulo 2, talks about nacionalidad y ciudadanía, in artículo 144. I'll just read it verbatim. Maybe not all of it. Nacionalidad de origen. Son guatemaltecos de origen los nacidos en el territorio de la República de Guatemala. Sí. Naves y aeronaves guatemaltecos y los hijos de padre y madre guatemaltecos nacidos en el extranjero. And it goes on to the next article. Nacionalidad de centroamericanos. También consideran guatemaltecos de origen a los nacionales por nacimiento de las repúblicas de la que construyeron la Federación de Centroamérica. Si adquieren domicilio en Guatemala y manifestaron ante autoridad competente su deseo de ser guatemaltecos. En este caso podrán conservar su nacionalidad de origen, sin prejuicio de los que se establezca en tratados y o convenios centroamericanos. I'm kind of jealous as a gringo, American, that this doesn't apply to gringos, but maybe one day. No, that would take a change in the Constitution. I'm not sure that necessitates change. But, so this kind of theme, or this maybe responsibility, is kind of shared, that's a taxi calling, certainly by some of the leaders here in Guatemala. If you go on to, if going on to the other articles, 146, 147, 148, talking about the ciudadanía, naturalización, the recuperation of the citizenship of the city. And in the next chapter, Relaciones Internacionales del Estado. So this the responsibility of la Federación de Centroamérica. And clearly there's something there. And responsibility could only help if people move forward, a nation better be defined, and people to better well it goes, let's just go on to see what let's just listen from someone probably much wiser than myself, and I know that just from reading this is much wiser than anything I think I could read, anyways. Nation, with the definition of a nation, Maritain says, does not know any principle of public order. It says the myth of the national state, and the so-called principle of nationality is understood in the sense that each national group must set itself up as a separate state, anti-national growth, the nation has become an earthly divinity whose absolute selfishness is sacred, and it has used political power to subvert any steady order among peoples. That's big. Just to avoid, we all want to avoid selfishness, and just to promote life in any way we can. And it certainly seems that through a proper understanding of what it means to be a nation, that can be maybe helped or other ways from our leaders. And just some commentary myself. It has been for centuries that order has been given to the world through the church. Although many question the influence it has had on civil society, it's important to remember that the grace of God always wins out, even in the way the church exists as an earthly institution. And with this, as with a family, we must always remember the good outweighs the bad. And just this last week was St. Joan of Arc's feast day, so that's for her intercession. But going on, I just want to comment that, in other words, all our doubt and mistrust must not penetrate that deepest part of us reserved for God alone. We must follow God alone, and especially it's such a it unites us. And just further commentary, just to finish up here. A good start is to look at our own families, or the family of people God has placed in our life, nation being the largest. Example of a saint from this week, like I said before, is St. Joan of Arc. He served as a heroic example of this kind of national family sense, as I call it now. By her life of holiness and love for the people she encountered in battle with France against the English and Burgundies, and the honor that we hold for St. Joan, and this kind of familiar spirit, that I would call it, emboldened in her military service of her nation of France. Just in this kind of thought. At the end, I just like to end with a prayer. This prayer is called "God Watches Soldiers with Satisfaction," and it goes on. It's from St. Louis de Montfort. God watches soldier, or if you are to have the right approach to suffering, you must form the devout habit of thinking about the eye of God. What I mean is this: God is like a great king who from the height of a tower observes with satisfaction his soldier in the midst of the battle, praising his courage. What is it on earth that attracts God's attention? Is it kings and emperors on their thrones? No. He often looks at them with nothing but contempt. Is his attention focused on the brilliant victories of a nation's armies, on precious stones, on any such things that are great in the sight of men? No. What is exalted among men is an abomination in the sight of God. That's from Luke, St. Luke's Gospel. What then does God look upon with pleasure and delight? What is he asking the angels about, and even the demons? It's about the one who's fighting for him against riches, against the world, against hell, even against himself. Reminds me of the selfishness. And the one who's cheerfully carrying his cross. In the book of Job, the Lord asks Satan, "Have you seen on earth the great wonder that the heavens gaze upon with admiration? Have you considered my servant Job, who is suffering for me?" And that's from Job itself. Thanks, and God bless. And more videos to come. And any questions or comments, please post them at the end. And if you made it this far, God bless you, because you've been in it for the long haul. Peace.